Years passed. The Ninja Empire had come to operate covertly alongside some of the world's governments. And although the pursuit of terrorists seemed to be never-ending, there were still many various and glorious triumphs. What was it that was the very root of all evil? It was hard to pin down, as evidenced by a ToeQuest thread on that question. Yet, it existed and continued to sprout anew around the globe. Was it the doom of man that he could err so thoroughly and so intensely? Defenses and circumventions danced round each other in a deathly tango. Just what was this inherent malevolence in so many? Emotions, brain imbalances, evolutionary relics, greed, disparity, power? Earth could not answer. However, the angelic end of the spectrum was well populated too. And why was evil somewhat different on a natural or cultural level than on the personal? Evil was ultimately pointless, for it assured its own destruction. Alexander the Great, Mussolini, and so many others and their movements all came to untimely ends for their misdeeds. Yet there could be no absolute defense, for that would require eternal and infinite vigilance. Still, no extremist group had so much as crossed over the porous Mexican border to strike at U.S. industry or even a shopping mall. Was it luck, or did they know the consequences that the diplomats had relayed to them off the record? Rascal had by now risen to the rank of Field Commander Level 8, finding the missions a complementary relief to the theoretical toe analyses that had advanced greatly lately, as the secrets of the universal DNA beginning to reveal themselves, unveiling some very counterintuitive and astounding information. Rascal was riding in a sleek black jet on a somewhat minor mission, proofreading his sequel, The New Gravity. The pilots flying at ease and granting a wide berth to the protected airspace that had just been extended for the President's State of the Union address. The war on terror predicted to have prominent mention. The Coast Guard was already boarding a freighter that had been stationary a bit too long when the ghastly glow of the Arc of Ascension lit the night. Then a second arc sprouted a few moments later and made for more frantic phone calls to the shore batteries whose radars were already alight. Improved Patriot missiles were even on automatic and had deflected or hit the first missile at its zenith, but had missed the second. The rockets had come too fast from too close. There had been no time. Rascal felt the plane performing a turnabout and went up to the cockpit to inquire.
What's the status? Why are we turning around?
The mission has been aborted.
By Field Command?
No, by Number 1 West himself. Rascal recalled the all-knowing visage of old Grandmaster West, whom he hadn't seen for many seasons now, and of his training by him back then, as detailed in the Butterflies at the Edge of Forever report, now buried in the closed but still readable Theory of Nothing thread. What gives, he thought, as he looked out the window, seeing a sight that he never wished to see. It was the sickening arc of descension as gravity's rainbow into the center of DC.
Look away, fly higher. The shockwave will be less. Then head west. The winds will blow the radiation eastward.
Turbos lifted the aircraft ever higher and away, Rascal noting the flattening of the trees below. The craft was not responding well and was furthermore hampered by the thinning air as it struggled to gain altitude. The oxygen mask dropped after several seconds that seemed like centuries. It's gaining on us, Rascal, sir. We're not going to make it. Both engines are now out. Radio gone.
The electromagnetic pulse, secure for shock.
The offending waves flipped the jet end over end, and she whirled about for some minutes before they hydraulically lowered the flaps to gain some measure of stability. However, she was now a deadweight stone gliding on into oblivion, but at least one that was plummeting from on high.
That's the worst of it. Get us on a glide path out of here.
Most of the electronics were out, but not all, and so they, after some 10 minutes or so, got the left engine to restart manually. But it ran rough, for all of its checks and balances were offline. Some 20 more minutes passed. The engine won't last long, not enough oil pressure.
God, that was some megatonnage.
Radio's back. What's the defense condition status?
DEFCON is normal at 5, and the terror alert still green as well as the redcon. Something is terribly wrong. Had the State of the Union address begun? Indeed. I suppose that the Vice President, who customarily does not attend the address, was probably not far enough away. God help us all. The world will soon learn that America is defenseless.
Uh-oh. The other nations? Can you check? Some moments passed. Russia, France, Israel, India, Pakistan, and the UK are already at the highest alert.
It is the end of all hope. Only the president or the acting president can initiate a retaliatory strike or raise the defense condition for a suborbital attack, although I hear that a launch is mandatory for an atomic explosion within the US. But
Meanwhile, on Nihao, Grandmaster West had already entered the vault, having first picked up the red telephone that not only connected to the Oval Office, but to the secure cell phones of the president, vice president, and their aides. There had not only been no answer, but alarmingly, a long incoming indication that the phones no longer existed. He carefully withdrew the secondary nuclear football from the vault and then from its case. Rascal, we have a message to overfly Silo 19, and there is call for you. We are near the silo, but how?
we're coming up on the silo now. What do you see? It's closed. And Washington? This was no small, dirty bomb. It was a big one, huge, a direct hit on the Capitol complex. That's what I needed to hear, but something that I did not want to hear. Our engine is running very hot. Maybe rough landing, Rascal. Advise me on Silo 20 just outside Richmond if you get that far. Godspeed.
The call ended abruptly. The master had a while ago picked up the blue phone to number 1 East, half a world away. She had the launch codes, yet another fail-safe mechanism that had been insisted upon by the top generals who had opposed this whole arrangement in the first place. Although they had to concede that such an event was possible and had given in, the blue phone was not connecting, the non-existent secure hub of DC thwarting the signal's approval. A cell phone call would not be authentic. In a few minutes, she and her city might not even be there, he thought. Finally, after a required wait, the call rerouted through secure CIA lines via some obscure points on the globe. Luckily, number 1 East was there, although likely since these were her sleeping hours. Like Twin Genie, they had split day and night, as well as the world. His day was her night and vice versa. It was his watch. Halfway around the world, she jumped out of bed and raced for the control room. A brief conversation ensued in which neither gave any hidden meanings to convey that either were under duress. She looked up the day's launch codes and relayed them promptly.
I have the codes. Checking authenticity now. Transmitting launch codes. Verify receipt.
Still, the secondary nuclear transponder could not activate until it had ascertained for itself that the primary could not operate. This was accomplished through slow but sure under-ocean, mountain-eating ELF waves to NORAD and back that seemed to take an eternity due to their ultra-low frequency. Moments crawled like death worms in the desert. Would the top generals go for it? The master, not known to be a nervous man or a smoker, picked up a cigar from his desk and lit it. He'd kept there as a constant reminder of the former and dwindling conspiracy menace, and drew in several long puffs. A seismograph clattered away, falsely indicating a 9.99 earthquake in the U.S. Capitol. Much time had passed, during which he had called Rascal to double verify the bad news. He thought of Einstein's warning to President Roosevelt about the power of atomic reactions, and that Germany could develop the bomb. The president had taken the warning to heart, although Einstein himself, the man who had discovered E-ray MCC, had been declared a security risk, and so was never even notified of the Manhattan Project, although he did do some work on isotopes, but not really knowing why. Master West knew the drill. 12 suspect cities in the Middle East and the Orient would soon be no more. Among them Damascus, Beirut, Islamabad, now run by terrorists, and yes, they had the bomb, and Baghdad, now devoid of UN troops and long overrun by Shiite extremists. Not to mention the radioactive wasteland that would remain in the mountainous region between Afghanistan and Pakistan. Satellite data would be used to track the freighter's origin, and that loophole would be closed. It was not a black and white decision, for the good would fall along with much of the bad.
It's not black and white. The good will fall along with much of the bad.
Furthermore, the USC state governors would constitute the new emergency executive, legislative, and judicial branches of the American government, their lieutenant governors taking over in each state. Life would go on. No one would launch against an alerted U.S., although Israel would probably seize the opportunity to destroy Iran's new reactors. But it would go no further in the U.S., but the Middle East would be a mess. A report came in showing that Pakistan had gone on nuclear alert before Washington was hit. The transponder finally showed ready, and the master did what he had to do, sending the tickle that would awaken the sleeping dragon. Did it bear the pearl of wisdom or the cinders of a once promising world? He then cut the end of the cigar and put it back on his desk as the U.S. went to DEFCON 1. Rascal's crippled, wobbling plane overflew silo number 20. The jet's lone working engine caught fire and had to be shut down. The silo was opening. Rascal ordered his team off the doomed jet, he to jump last as leaders do. Each and all parachuted out the door as he took this last moment to radio his last report, that of noting the retaliatory nuclear launch from silo number 20 and that Richmond was already evacuating. The pilots would eject soon after he left the sleek Ninja jet, which had now become the silent and black angel of death.
Go, jump, last man out. Silo number 20 launch confirmed. Richmond is already evacuating.
Rascal next gathered up the strewn about proof pages of his book and stuffed them into his shirt, then leapt out the door into a free fall, one more heart-wrenching than any roller coaster, in order to clear the jet and its draft, then pulled the ripcord. Many Homo sapiens would die and die this day, all over the globe, from this pretty much prearranged plan that had been engaged when the U.S. Capitol complex and much of D.C. had been vaporized by an attack by unknown terrorists. This was evolution of a different order, not an eye for an eye, but 12 eyes for one eye, for the world's evils had reached unprecedented levels by the year 2026. Rascal floated down, steering toward a treeless area, a meadow perhaps, now seconds away from landing. A few of his book pages floated free of his shirt, but he held tight to the rest, his tome almost literally becoming a total field theory. Rascal landed. No one was about. He walked on in the dark, noting the old moon holding the new one in its arms.